Hi folks, it's Hope. Welcome to Board Housewife of Silicon Valley. So, how do I start this one? We're going to talk about Birnam Wood by Eleanor Catton. I suppose you can tell by the non-super exuberant start to this book that this was not a 5-star read for me. But I have really conflicting feelings about it because I just feel like the way the book was written and the story the book was telling did not belong together. And that, I think, is what is muddling the situation, because the writing in itself, just on its own, is very, very well done. And the plot of the book is really interesting, but somehow the way they came together really has me feeling like it was oil and water. It just didn't mesh. One example is, let's see if I can find, I think I tried to remember a page. There is one page here, and I kid you not, like the entire page is one sentence. It starts here and the sentence ends there. Like it's so long, and there were multiple places where that happened, multiple times that happened, and for me that reads like really kind of more intellectual literary fiction, not a thriller, and this is being marketed as a thriller. So you had to get through a lot of character slog before you got to the thrilling part of the book. And the thrilling part of the book was maybe the last third or so, the last 100 pages. The beginning was very introspective and not a lot of dialogue, and then all of a sudden it switches to this more fast-paced, plot-driving thing that it was really jarring as a reader, and I knew it was coming. So I got 100 pages into this book and was really struggling, and I thought, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna be worth it. So I watched a book review by Eric Carl Anderson on YouTube, and it was a video I had been avoiding because he was reviewing this book, as I said, and I didn't watch it when it came out because I knew I wanted to read the book, and his review didn't have spoilers. I really didn't want to go in knowing much and I didn't want to know his expectations. I'm glad I didn't watch his review, honestly, because he came to quite a few of the same conclusions I did. And he said, you know, the first 275 pages, really kind of rough, and then he really enjoyed the ending. He said, I think it was worth it. I don't know for me that it was worth it, because even the end, you're all of a sudden kind of thrown into a character's perspective that I just wasn't expecting to have the climactic moment through their point of view. And that for me really eased a lot of the tension of the story that had been building to this moment. And while I really actually appreciate the end of the book, and not because it was the end, but how the characters came to conclude their storylines, while I really actually quite enjoyed it, it was really let down by how, as a reader, I was given that information. And so I think that's why, for me, why I'm struggling, because there were so many great parts of this book, but they didn't belong in the same novel. And I'm not really sure what to do with that. Have I even told you what the book is about yet? I don't think I have. The book follows many different characters. It follows, can I even remember their names? Probably not. It follows Robert. It follows Mira. It follows a multitude of characters. I think kind of there are 4 sort of main ones. And it's about this group called Birnam Wood, and they are kind of this guerrilla gardening group where they set up gardens in public spaces and without permission, and they give out their they use the produce to help themselves and help others, sort of thing. And so what happens is one of these women hears about this property and she thinks it would make for a really great place to set up this guerrilla gardening thing. And she goes and she checks it out and she runs into Robert, who's this billionaire on the property. And Robert essentially decides that he's going to fund this group. And where this all goes kind of escalates from there. And so having that be the catalyst for a thriller, I thought was quite unique, because thrillers, you know, they get a little dry after you've read too many of them, and this was different. But the presentation of the story and the way it propels forward, as I've said now, I think a couple of times, I didn't like it. I just didn't like it. And so I am confused as to who I would ever recommend this to, if anybody, and disappointed, because this was one of the very few books I had actually really been looking forward to this year and was kind of let down by it. And I'm not really sure what everybody else is thinking about it, but I can't imagine that the first 100 pages grabbed anybody right off the bat, because it takes so long to build up this story and then it is delivered in such a weird way. And that is why I don't star rate books very often, and I probably won't here, but I'm just going to say it, but that's just why I was disappointed in this book, and it's such a bummer. So I want to know, if you've read it, what did you think? Am I missing something? What are your feelings towards this book? Or are you kind of in the same boat I am, where you slogged through hoping that the payoff would be worth it? And did you think the payoff was? Because some people obviously have thought that. I'm just not one of those people. But I'm very curious as to what other people think about this book, because as I said, I'm so conflicted as a reader as to what to think and how to even articulate what I'm feeling about it. And I don't know that I've articulated it particularly well in this video, but I've said my piece, and through this whole thing, I just wanted to get that out, because it was just bothering me as a reader that I didn't know how to express how I was feeling about this book, and how I kept on pushing through, hoping for a payoff, and I don't even know that I liked the payoff. So there you have it. But yes, please let me know what you think, because I'm super curious. I hope everybody's having wonderful days, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.